Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Ben, this is Books with Benghis Khan, and today I have the first of my year-end videos. This one taking more of a wrap-up style reflection where I get to look back on the authors and series that really defined my year of reading in terms of the most amount of pages spent with each one. And I did this last year and found it an interesting exercise for me. And seeing who I spent the most time with was cool. And you'll probably see basically most of my year-end list of favorite books and my awards come from these authors. And I tend to just want to binge series or stick with authors and spend a lot of time with them. I didn't read a crazy amount of authors this year, but this, now that I'm thinking about it, must be the best reading year I've ever had in my life in terms of both the quantity and the quality. I've discovered a few absolute new favorite authors and have just deepened my love for certain others that I had already been spending a lot of time with before. So this was just probably my favorite reading year so far. So I can't wait to wrap it up here with you all. At number 10 is Stephen King at 1,244 pages across just 2 novels, because one of them was this giant chunker, 11/22/63, which became a new favorite book of mine because I was so deeply emotionally invested in this from the very first chapter all the way to the last page. Man, I just loved this thing, and I can't wait to dive in because I've only read a couple of King's books before this, so I have so many King books I want to try, and I think his non-horror stuff is going to be what I really end up loving, because tried Pet Sematary and didn't love the direction of that, and I haven't read many horror books, so I'll probably try to go through his entire body of work over the course of the rest of my life. But it's hard to see anything topping this one. So yeah, great success with some Stephen King. And then at number 9 is Adrian Tchaikovsky, already a favorite author of mine, with 1,258 pages across 3 novels. One of those was just finishing up the children books, Children of Memory. Didn't love that one as much as the previous 2. And then I picked up his 2 sci-fi new releases, Alien Clay and Service Model. I enjoyed both of these. They kind of have this light, witty tone to them with a lot of satire. And I think Tchaikovsky is being really cheeky this year with his sci-fi books. And so they were fun. I wasn't blown away by either, but I appreciated the world building going on in both, the character work as always. And yeah, it was a light year for Tchaikovsky for me, because I have a lot of his books that I want to catch up on. Guns of the Dawn, some of his sci-fi standalones, and his other sci-fi series, the Final Architecture, and his new fantasy series that he keeps on doing new releases in, the Tyrant Philosophers, sounds amazing. So I have so much Tchaikovsky to catch up on. He's just churning these out, and he's just a wellspring of creativity and intelligence and interesting ideas. So yeah, pretty good year for Adrian. And then at number 8 is one of my favorite authors, Christopher Ruocchio, with 1,750 pages across 2 novels, a novella, and a bunch of short stories. So I knew the big new release was coming out earlier this year, Disquiet Gods, and that's a chunky boy. And leading up to that, though, I got a chance to read Dregs of Empire, the novella that takes place before that book, and some of the short stories that are also pretty critical bits of filling in the story before Disquiet Gods. And I also got a chance to interview Christopher Ruocchio on the channel, and before he came on, I was really just in the mood for more Sun Eater before Disquiet Gods, and so I reread Empire of Silence to lead up to that interview, which recently just got the deluxe edition treatment with his diamond edition, and that's really cool with that slipcase. And so Empire of Silence, I ended up loving that on a reread, and seeing that and compare it to where we are in the journey at Disquiet Gods was really cool. And I'll probably reread the rest of those books over the course of the next year leading up to the final book release. At number 7 is Guy Gavriel Kay with 2,325 pages read across 5 novels, and this is, I think, one of the biggest impacts of this year was discovering my love for GGK, starting with A Song for Our Bone, and this just utterly blowing me away. I went on an emotional roller coaster ride with this one, and sweeping me away with his elegant, evocative prose and emotional character writing. The cultural world building he did here was just second to none. And yeah, this book shot to my favorite book of all time, my number one spot. And I'll be surprised if anything can unseat it after the emotional experience I had with this one. And then I did a TBR picking competition where Jake and Kyle each picked 3 books for me, and they both picked a GGK book, and I loved both of them, Lines of Al Rassan and A Brightness Long Ago, both just standalone masterpieces for me. And then recently I did the Sarantine Mosaic duology. I liked both of those almost as much as the others, if not quite as much. But all of them easy 5-star masterpieces. Maybe Selling to Sarantium was towing that line, but I actually ended up really loving that one in retrospect even more. So far, Gabriel K has been 100% hit rate for me, and can't wait to read everything else he's done, but I want to savor them. I want to take it a little more slowly because he doesn't have too many books in his backlist to get through, and he is a special author. So that's the 7th most read author of mine by page count, but in terms of place in my heart from this last year, probably up there at the top. Number 6 is another one that came out of that TBR competition, and that is Lois McMaster Bujold. So I read 2,695 pages of her books across the first 8 of the Vorkosigan novels and 3 novellas in that series as well. So that has been a lot of the second half of my year, has been going through her Vorkosigan saga and really loving my time in it. So I want to thank Jake Bishop for the pick of Shards of Honor to get me started with that one. And the whole style of the series just really has been clicking with me. Very character-centric sci-fi adventure tales that have a lot of plot intrigue and interesting cultural world building, but really, really emotional character writing and deep psychological work, I think, is going on with these characters and books. And I really am attached to the style. And I still got a bunch more because I think there's 20 total books, I think, in that series. So I got a ways to go. And can't wait to try out her fantasy as well. So huge new hit. At number 5 is Robin Hobb, who was already an author that was up there in my favorites, but this year I think cemented herself clearly within the top few, with 3,092 pages read across 5 novels. They were the last 5 in the realm of the Elderlings. So just a couple months ago, finished up with Assassin's Fate, and I brought this copy that I read actually to Dragonsteel, where she was signing books, and she signed this and personalized it to me. Assassin's Fate Journey's End is what she wrote in there. And it was just a wonderful journey that she took me on over the course of the last few years, and finishing it up in this last trilogy that was just so impactful. And I think everything about the series was elevated for me in this final trilogy. I was so tense, and the way it wrapped up was deeply emotional for me. So huge hit. Can't wait to read her other Hobb books and her Megan Lindholm books, just everything she's ever written I got to track down, and just fantastic. At number 4 is a new author for me, and that is Ken Liu. In the TBR competition, I had The Grace of Kings and Wall of Storms both chosen for me, so of course I was going to need to finish out that 4-book Dandelion Dynasty series after that, and that was 3,575 pages. It's a lot for just 4 books, because those last 3 are all just 1,000-page chunkers. And this was a good time. I was engaged throughout, but I'm finding I'm not feeling a very big lasting impact from the series, which is a little disappointing. It didn't become a new S-tier favorite series for me after I read it, but I'm also not feeling like a great desire to want to reread that in the future. But I did have a really good time with it. There were just super creative world building and plotting and bringing out really topical themes for our current civilization and where we are. and it's unique in fantasy. Definitely haven't read anything like it. I enjoyed a lot of what Liu was doing here, and definitely just really cool use of technology and learning new technology and using them in warfare and battle scenes. And the giant cooking competition is a real highlight, which was an awesome sequence. And so yeah, there are a few things that are going to stand out, but I wish it had more of that staying power for me. That I read this, just in the middle of this past year, and I'm feeling like I've lost so many of the details of the story, and yeah, but pretty good. I'm still really happy that I read it. At number 3 is Benedict Jacka at 3,994 pages across 12 novels and 2 novellas, the entire Alex Verus urban fantasy series I did within this year, and they're all very consistently about this size in mass market, just around 300 pages. They are extremely easy to read, the plots get moving quickly, there's not a huge cast, there's not too much new world building that ever gets introduced, but I really love the progression of the plotting and the character arcs over the course of the 12 books. It definitely, like Dresden, I think was a little slow in starting in terms of the quality, and Jack was finding his footing, but once we're in maybe book 4, I think the quality really picked up and the side character cast came alive. But the core of this is really the amazing Alex Verus POV that you get for the entire series, and just a really great character, very serious, and has a traumatic past that he's still trying to work through, and really fiercely loyal to his friends and those around him, and has this really cool divining magic where he can see into the future, and that is just used to incredible effect throughout the series. And so yeah, just a really fun series to throw in a book or two between other things I was reading, and it was always comforting to come back to it. So highly recommend this if you're a Dresden Files fan, if you're looking for more urban fantasy to kind of throw between other big, chunkier, epic stuff. It's just easier to digest. They're still very tense and serious. These aren't particularly humorous books at all, so they're not palate cleansers in terms of that side of things, like Dresden might feel like. But in terms of just being quick, breezy, easy to read, easy to digest, they're good palate cleansers that way. And so yeah, very successful. I was happy with the way that wrapped up, and I could easily see myself rereading this series once a lot of the details have fled. It's kind of really quick to go through, and I think it'll be fun going back to see some of my old friends from here. Yeah, that was a wonderful series, and I'm interested to see what he's doing next with his new urban fantasy series. I think he's already released 2 books in there, so I gotta check those out. My number 2 most read author this year was Brandon Sanderson at 6,593 pages. So there's a big step up across 6 novels. So most of that was due to this big boy, Wind and Truth. With that being released, I wanted to do a full Stormlight reread leading up. So just going through all those the last few months was wonderful, because it'd been a few years since I'd read those. And early in the year, I actually reread Warbreaker, because I have the beautiful Dragonsteel Leatherbound, and I wanted to make use of that. So that was really nice. I love that story, and using the Leatherbound with the awesome art in there was fun. So yeah, 6 Sando novels, and also just Sanderson, the lead up to going to Dragonsteel and going there, like he's played a very large role in this year, and it was my first ever book convention. I want to do a video just about my experience of it, but I had an absolutely incredible time, and he and Dragonsteel were responsible for that, and so that's going to leave an indelible mark on this whole year for me. And it was just a great time. And the books were great, although I will say I think I liked every other Stormlight book considerably more than this one, but I was still engaged. I intellectually, I really like how things played out. It just didn't have the same emotional impact as all 4 of the previous books. But there's a lot to get to pack in here, and so it's a pretty special circumstance, I think, of needing to pack so much in, kind of the rush to get this ready in time for Dragonsteel Convention, and maybe just a few things about the story and character writing that were particular to where the characters were in this book, and the plotting that I think it's not going to be something that is going to really carry over to other Cosmere books. I've enjoyed all the other recent ones, from The Secret Projects, The Lost Metal, So I've been liking the direction he's taking the larger Cosmere books. This one hit a little less, but overall, Stormlight is still just one of my favorite series. I love the first 5 books. Even though a lot of it was reread, still a lot of my reading year was Stormlight. My number 1 most read author this year was a new discovery, and he's shot up to be one of my favorites, and that is Matt Dinniman at 8,136 pages across the 6 Dungeon Crawler Carl books, but times 2 since I did an immediate reread of all 6, and plus the 3 books that I just read. And I'm finishing up the 3rd one again right now. So I'm counting that because I'll get that in before the end of the year for sure, because I think I'll probably finish today. And so that is, I think, 15 Dungeon Crawler Carl reads that I've done this year. And so pretty comfortably, my most read author was Matt Dinniman. And a lot of this was by audio because Jeff Hayes and his performance for DCC is just so lively, so engaging. It was just so fun to listen to, and I was not ready to let it go. And that's why I did a listen to it twice through the first time I encountered these books. And recently I got these hardcovers to have it in print for the first time. And I took this one to Dragonsteel, where I did get it signed. And, oh yeah, I also got this DCC themed shirt with one of my favorite catchphrases from the book. Donut is one of my favorite characters of all time, and Carl is as well. And I love that when I went to get this signed, I was wearing this shirt, and Matt Dinniman was happy to see the shirt, and he also personalized this. God damn it, Ben. Man, I love that. And just being able to meet these authors in person, they were all so gracious and so wonderful. It was a thrill. They're my rock stars, and so and that was great. And his writing just connects with me on every level. I am fully in love with this series. I'm rereading this to experience it in print differently, and I'm catching things, little details I might have missed on audio when I'm going through it a little faster. And I'm also super psyched. I want all the details to be fresh for going into book 7, which the audio will be coming out soon. The print's already out, but man, I cannot wait for that next book. I really, really need it right now. I definitely am going to try Dinniman's other books. He wrote a bunch before doing DCC. I'm so glad that this is blown up in the fantasy sphere. I did not think I was going to be a lit RPG fan before, but this was getting a lot of buzz. I wanted to give it a go, especially by audio, which had been getting rave reviews, and I might be a huge lit RPG fan. The lit RPG elements in here are aspects of it that I love. I love the pacing of these series, and just going from crazy, tense, murderous action to being in safe rooms and having time to calm down and discuss things and strategize, and all the quiet character moments we get, and then the insanity and man, the larger kind of galactic political world building he's doing across the whole series is great, and is raising the stakes of the whole thing. And yeah, I'm utterly in love with these books and the characters. God damn it, Donut. Man, I just absolutely can't stop reading these. I had to tear myself away from reading book 3, the Dungeon Anarchist Cookbook, to film this video. I've just been so engrossed, and I know the major plot beats. I just read it twice a year ago, but that's how much I've been loving it. So yeah, that's been my most read author, a wonderful new favorite, and really, though, across the whole year, it's been a discovery of new favorite books and authors and series. It's been a wonderful reading year, and yeah, I'm so thankful to have found all these, and for Kyle and Jake's picks for encouraging me to try out these authors, and just meeting them in person, a lot of them, from Hobb to Rocchio to Dinniman, and even very briefly meeting Sando at the convention. They were all just wonderful people, and people I look up to and respect, and authors that you spend time with. You're spending hours and hours with their writing. They're communicating directly to you, one to one, and that can be a pretty intimate, special relationship that you're building with them through their writing and the worlds and the characters that they're creating. and their personal values that they're transmuting to you through the story. I do think it matters who these people are on the other side of the pen or the keyboard. And that's why I'm not too interested in reading AI written things. I think this communication from one person to another matters, and who the authors are also matters. And these authors, to the extent that I have senses of them as who they are through their writing, and from getting to chat with them, I just really respect them all, and thankful that they've found their way into my life. So a wonderful, wonderful 2024 reading year. I hope I can top it. I want every reading year to be better than the last. And that will be hard to accomplish. I mean, finishing up some of these favorite series of mine, discovering a few new favorite authors and series, like, man, I can't imagine how we top it, but I at least want to try. And we'll see what happens next year. But comment on these series or authors if they've also been special to you in any way. And I'll catch you later.